Welcome to this week's edition of Fight News Now. I'm your host, John Pollock, and we've got a great show coming up as we head into a UFC doubleheader this Saturday. On the program, we will be delving into the topic of performance-enhancing drugs affecting the sport. We'll also preview the main events of both UFC events this weekend. We'll go 3 rounds with John Ramdine and Robin Black, who is back from the Joe Rogan Experience. And on the shift, we'll get you primed for Sin City 2, but we kick everything off with this week's Newsmakers. Performance-enhancing drugs in the sport of mixed martial arts have been at the forefront of late due to heavier random drug testing and big names being caught. A few weeks back, Canadian Mark Bocek announced his retirement from MMA at the age of 32 and cited PED use as one of the determining factors. And he spoke to me about his decision on retirement and how drug testing could be changing the sport of MMA.
Sponsors don't want to be associated with, let's say a dirty sport, or sponsoring fighters that are failing drug tests, and it clearly sends the wrong message to kids. The random testing is a step forward. They've had 100% success rate on everyone, except for Vanderlei. But why do people run away from a drug test, right?
Well,
not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
His hearing is coming up, and I'm sure they will decipher what was meant.
We'll see. We'll see. It was interesting because Chael got a job, so we'll see what Vanderlei gets.
Just going back to that hearing with Sonnen, was that a big tipping point for you? Because on that day, we saw Sonnen getting a 2-year suspension, while the same day, Vitor Belfort walks out of that room with a title fight.
He knew it was the end of his career anyways, and it's like, Vitor saying to Chael, hey, you cheated and you got a job. Chael says to Vitor, hey, you cheated, you get a title shot. It's a great, exciting fight, but let's just say if I'm a middleweight, you don't want to fight guys like that, especially in Brazil,
We now get another perspective on the topic from a fighter from a different generation, and that is Ken Shamrock. Shamrock came up at a time when drug testing was non-existent in the early 90s and into the era of commissions and more testing being done. Shamrock was in town this past week, and here's what the UFC Hall of Famer had to share on the subject.
A lot of people are all finding different ways to get bigger and stronger, still staying flexible enough to play the sport that they want to play. But it is a part of our sports today, and whether people want to face it and realize it now or they can do it later, the reality of it is it's here and it's going to stay. Now it's finding out, how do we keep it safe? How do we use it and keep it safe in the sports that we have today? Because it's here, and if we take it out of the sports and they find a way to really take it out of the sport, if they do find that way, which I don't know if they do, but if they do, people don't realize what they're asking for. They're asking for a significant drop in athletic abilities, where you see guys that are able to dunk from the top of the key. Guys being able to dunk with 2 people hanging on them. The minute that you take away the enhancements in sports, then you're going to see a significant drop in the athletic ability. It enhances the athletic ability in everybody. Some people have better athletic ability, it'll make them even better. But it is a part of the sports today in everything that we do, and it's there. So how do we fix it? How do we go, let's make this safe? Let's find a way that these guys don't have to go out there on the black market and get it because they can't go into a doctor's care. Because if they do, then doctors got to disclose it and they could lose their license to fight. So they go out on the black market, they do it themselves, and now they're endangering their physical health because they're going to do it to try and compete. Obviously, it was built and put together for people to heal and get better. That's why they had it. For war veterans coming over and lost so much weight, to be able to build muscle and get them stronger. So there is a safe level in which you can use this drug. And the same thing is for sports. There is a safe level in which everybody can be regulated. They have to get their own doctors to go under a doctor's care and do it safely. I mean, for God's sakes, they're going to legalize pot. You can't find a way to do something like growth hormone or whatever to try and make it safe for these guys, when in reality it's a lot less dangerous than pot? That's the reality.
The UFC will return to Macau this Saturday for a very early morning card for the North American audience, as middleweights Michael Bisping and Kung Lee will headline the card. Lee has not fought since November of 2012, where he stopped Rich Franklin, while Bisping is coming off a difficult loss to Tim Kennedy back in April. Both have their backs against the wall and look to continue their careers with a victory.
UFC Fight Night 48's main event, pitting Michael Bisping against Kung Lee, could turn out to be a Fight of the Year candidate. The two middleweights favor striking over grappling and have two very exciting and different styles. The count is your traditional European kickboxing,
Good right hand.
with solid footwork and an exhausting pace.
Jab, and another combination. Beautiful.
Just picking them apart here in the third round.
Kung Lee, on the other hand, comes from a Sanshao background that features a kick-heavy attack
And there it goes again. Now it's just target practice.
that uses exotic techniques. If the stand-up isn't going well for either fighter, they may look to use their underrated wrestling skills,
Beautiful job by Bisping.
especially towards the end of the round, in hopes of swaying the judges.
Nicely done by Kung Lee.
Kung Lee is making his return after almost 2 years without a fight. And at 42 years old, a 5-round bout with a cardio machine like Bisping could prove too much for the former Strikeforce champion.
And up again. Wow. Bam. Big takedown by Michael Bisping.
However, if Lee can land that same kick that Belfort did,
There it is again. That left high kick.
it could be a short night for the Brit.
Bisping is a sizable favorite going into the weekend, but we'll turn things over to our panel of pros for their picks in the main event as we hear from a former UFC light heavyweight champion and a former Pride middleweight champion.
Kung Lee's always entertaining, but sometimes Kung Lee, if he can't fight his style of fighting, then it seems like a bit like he kind of doesn't seem to have that same this, whatever this is. He don't have this. He's missing that. I think Bisping, he's faced some adversity lately. He had the eye situation. He came back. He lost the fight coming back off of that. So now he's in a position where he's like, listen, I'm not done. My time is not over. So he's going to go out there, and he's probably going to have the best performance that he's had recently. So I'm thinking Bisping is going to get the win this one.
This is a really interesting fight. I think it's 50-50. Both guys are really tough. I think in decision, maybe Bisping. KO, Kung Lee.
After the Macau card, the UFC is back a few hours later on Saturday night with 10 fights scheduled for Tulsa, Oklahoma. The show will be headlined by lightweights Benson Henderson and Rafael dos Anjos, with the former lightweight champion Henderson looking for his 3rd straight victory and another opportunity to fight for the gold, while dos Anjos has won 6 of his last 7.
For a year and a half, Benson Henderson ruled over the lightweight division, until Anthony Pettis locked in an armbar that would end his reign at UFC 164.
He turned it one direction to go for the shoulder, to go for an angle. I turned to defend that, went right into the elbow, went right into the proper angle for it.
His first step on the road back to a title shot came against #1 contender Josh Thompson. Despite the punk fighting most of the bout with a broken hand, Smooth narrowly escaped with a split decision victory.
I like W's. I like getting my hand raised. I'll take it any way I can get it. You slip it on a banana peel, by the skin of my teeth, by any means,
With Pettis locked into a matchup with Gilbert Melendez at the end of the year, and no clear contender up next, Smooth would need some wins to earn another title shot.
UFC calls you up, say, hey, do you want to fight this day, this time? You can say yes, or you can say yes.
That day and time would come on June 7th against unheralded Rustam Khabilov. After 4 hard-fought rounds, Henderson would finally secure his first finish inside the octagon.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of talking, but I do my talking in here. I don't need to talk out there. I talk in here.
Next up to test the former champion will be #5 ranked Rafael dos Anjos. Despite having a 5-fight winning streak halted by Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC on Fox 11, dos Anjos got back in the win column with a TKO of Jason High. Cardio will likely be the deciding factor in this one, as Henderson has 7 career 5-round decisions, while the Brazilian has yet to see the championship rounds. Can Smooth take one step closer to another fight with Pettis, or will dos Anjos upset the former champion and make a case for a title shot of his own?
And finally, our own Robin Black was down in California last week and got an opportunity to stop by the Joe Rogan Experience for 3 hours of fight chat. The full show is up at joerogan.net and on iTunes, and here's a quick look at Robin's chat with Rogan.
You do a fantastic job. You work for the Fight Network in Canada, right?
Yeah.
And you do a fantastic job of breaking down fights, and your enthusiasm is so contagious. It's really cool.
Oh, thanks.
I've really enjoyed watching those videos because there's so many aspects that I think that maybe the casual fan might miss, or the person who has never trained or competed might miss. And you do a great job of sort of encapsulating those really important moments and highlighting them and isolating them, and you do it all with passion. It's really fun.
Man, thank you. That is the coolest thing anyone's ever said to me.
And I'm here with John Ramdeen, and coming up this weekend, Rammer, it is a doubleheader. Correction, 11 fights happening in Oklahoma, 10 in China, and boy, do we need some sunglasses perhaps for the star power on the undercard of that Macau card. But there is a lot of good this weekend too.
Of course, all you have to look at the former Strikeforce middleweight champion Kung Lee taking on Michael Bisping, an outstanding matchup at 185 pounds. Kung Lee returning after a near 2-year layoff. Michael Bisping hoping to have a better performance than he had against Tim Kennedy.
All that and a dynamite welterweight fight happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They will be chatting about it on 3 rounds when we come back on Fight News Now.